Today is Thursday, January 1st, 2026, and here is the news that you can use. This is the Exchange Daily for CIOs, CISOs, CTOs, and public sector and enterprise tech leaders who have to make decisions with imperfect information and tight timelines. Just a quick reminder, the Exchange Daily is still free but will require you to subscribe at time.ra.solutions. That's TIMERA.solutions. If you want more than daily updates, the Exchange Weekly is your deep dive, but requires a paid subscription. The end-of-year sale has been extended through the end of this week. So if you enjoy both the Exchange Daily newscast and the Exchange Weekly in-depth newsletter, trade a single cup of coffee for a subscription each month. Now on with the show. We're starting with 3 practical items you can act on right away. An OpenAI change that affects how you manage custom GPTs, a Google Cloud billing shift that will hit agent budgets, and a FedRAMP milestone you do not want to miss if you sell into government. We'll also touch a federal workforce telework update, a new push to build AI talent inside agencies, and a Microsoft case study that turns hiring into a security control. Let's get into it. OpenAI quietly shipped a set of ChatGPT Enterprise and Edu release note updates that belong on your change calendar, not in someone's inbox. The headline is GPT 5.2 Early Access for Eligible Workspaces, paired with a timeline change for custom GPTs that many teams treat like production apps. The release notes also set a specific transition date for moving custom GPT creation and management, which means you need an owner, a migration checklist, and a communication plan to the business. If you're running an internal GPT store, now is the time to standardize who can publish, what data sources are allowed, and how you handle approvals. Treat this like any other platform change. Update your operating model, confirm audit logging, and make sure your help desk is ready for day one confusion. Google Cloud's documentation on grounding with Google Search is worth a read because it clarifies the cost and governance mechanics behind retrieval-grounded answers in Vertex AI. For executive teams, the key point is that grounding is not just a quality feature, it is a metered external dependency, and that changes how you forecast spend and how you write policy. If your users can trigger search queries at scale, your unit economics are going to depend on prompt design, guardrails, and how you cache and reuse results. For security teams, the main question is what data can be sent out to search and what must be kept inside your controlled retrieval layer. For finance teams, the question is which workloads should use grounding versus internal RAG, and how you tag and allocate those costs back to products or departments. Bottom line, if you do not measure query volume and enforce controls, grounding can turn into a silent budget leak. Now to a cost shift with a calendar date you can actually plan around. Vertex AI Agent Engine changes that start billing for additional services on January 28, 2026. Google's release notes say sessions, memory bank, and code execution will begin charging. And that is a big deal if you are experimenting with agentic workflows that rely on memory and tool execution. The operational move here is to separate pilots from production and to put explicit usage limits and alerting on the features that are about to become billable. If you are building agents for customer support, internal IT, or workflow automation, you should model the cost per active user, per session, and per tool call. Then decide where you need hard caps. This is also a governance moment. When memory becomes a paid feature, it tends to become a data retention feature, and you need to decide what you store, for how long, and who can retrieve it. Treat January 28th as your go-live date for FinOps plus policy, not just pricing. Turning to federal cloud, FedRAMP 20X Phase 2 has a Cohort 2 proposal window that runs from January 5th through January 9th, 2026, and that is a short runway if you want in. For vendors, this is about readiness and packaging, evidence, control inheritance, documentation hygiene, and a realistic plan for continuous monitoring. For agencies, it is about throughput and risk appetite, because the promise of a faster authorization path only works if the evidence is clean and the boundaries are clear. If you are a CIO buying cloud services, ask your vendors whether they are applying, which authorizations they will target, and how they will keep you informed as controls are validated. If you are a CISO, press for automation in evidence collection and proof that the vendor can operate securely after the paperwork is done. This is a planning item, not a news item, because the window is brief and the staffing load is real. On the workforce front, HR 6573, the AI Talent Act, is a useful signal for how federal agencies are thinking about making AI real instead of theoretical. The core idea is to stand up internal AI talent teams that can help agencies recruit, retain, and deploy AI skills. And that matters because most agencies are still trying to stitch together policy, procurement, and technical implementation with thin benches. If you are a federal CIO or CO, this is a reminder to formalize roles like AI product owner, model risk lead, data steward, and platform engineer, instead of relying on contractors to define your operating model. If you are in the private sector selling into government, it is a heads up that agencies will increasingly want partners who can train alongside delivery, not just ship a tool. The most practical next step is to map your current AI work to a skills inventory and identify where you have single points of failure. Workforce is now a dependency, and Congress is signaling it. Microsoft Incident Response published a case study that should make every security leader recheck how hiring and onboarding intersect with access control. The scenario is imposter for hire, where operatives pose as legitimate remote workers and slip through vetting and onboarding to gain trusted access, then use that access to move data or deploy tools. This is not just HR fraud. It is identity and privileged access management with a human disguise. And it gets worse when onboarding is distributed and urgent. The action item is to strengthen identity proofing and to treat device issuance, credential creation, and first login behavior as a security event, not a formality. Add extra verification steps for high-risk roles, watch for unusual remote control hardware patterns, and tighten least privilege during the first weeks of access. The message here is simple. If your hiring pipeline is fast, but your verification pipeline is weak, you are importing risk on purpose. An OPM update matters today because telework is still an operational dependency, and operational dependencies are security dependencies. OPM published an updated guide to telework and remote work in the federal government, and it is the kind of document that drives policy decisions that later show up as tool requirements, audit questions, and budget lines. If you are a federal IT leader, you should align your collaboration stack, endpoint controls, and identity posture to whatever your agency policy teams will cite from this guide. If you are in charge of operations, this is where you confirm that your continuity plan assumes remote work can scale quickly without breaking identity verification and without relaxing controls. If you run a zero-trust program, this is also a chance to revalidate your assumptions about device trust, phishing resilience, and conditional access in a telework-heavy environment. The rule for 2026 is that remote work is not a phase, it is infrastructure. Finally, in health IT policy, there is a Federal Register notice that withdraws parts of the Office of the National Coordinator package, often referenced as HTI-2, for CIOs in healthcare and for vendors that support interoperability and compliance. A withdrawal like this can shift timelines, priorities, and enforcement expectations, and it can create uncertainty for product roadmaps. The practical move is to treat it as a change management event. Check what requirements remain on the table, what is explicitly withdrawn, and what your customers will assume is still coming. For security leaders, interoperability policy changes often mean new APIs, new data flows, and new audit questions. So make sure governance stays coupled to legal and compliance updates. If you sell into healthcare, be ready to explain to customers what changed and what did not in plain language. Policy volatility is a risk driver, and it affects your backlog. That's the exchange for today. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us on a busy morning. Talk with you tomorrow. And remember, inspect what you expect.